c4. White is taking strong control of the d5 square. Black attacks the center with d5. Pawn takes pawn, and now white plays bishop to b5 check. Black blocks the check with his bishop, and now white plays queen to a4. But that's a mistake, because that move just allowed black to capture this free pawn over here. White plays bishop takes bishop check, and now black plays knight takes bishop. Looks like a mistake. And now here most players will try to win their pawn back with queen captures pawn. But that allows black to play knight to c5, attacking the queen. If queen moves to c4 in order to attack the knight over here, then black can spoil white's position with knight to d3 check. The knight is protected by the queen, and so it cannot be captured. King moves to e2, double attacking the knight, and now black can play rook to c8, launching a skewer attack on white's pieces. White captures the knight, black captures the queen with a check, king captures queen, and now rook captures bishop is totally devastating for white. Why? Because this rook has pinned these knights and also made all these 4 pieces of white's army totally immovable and useless. If white tries to move any one of the knights, then white will lose one of the rooks, and if white tries to move one of the rooks, then white will lose the knight. And also look how badly exposed white's king is, right in the middle of the board. Black can just keep his beautiful strong rook on the first rank and can activate his other 3 set of pieces and start attacking white's king. Let's head on to the next trap. e4 c6, and now here white plays knight to c3, taking control of the center, and black attacks the center with d5. And here some players make the mistake of playing f3 in order to protect this pawn over here, but that allows black to play d4, attacking the knight over here. Now the best square for this knight is the e2 square, from where it can put pressure on this pawn. But a lot of beginners move the knight to the side of the board. Now the knight doesn't have this square. This square is blocked, cannot jump on this square, so the only square available is the c5 square. So black immediately takes control of the c5 square with the move e6. Now the bishop is controlling this square as well. White here should immediately play b3 in order to create an escape room for the knight. But if white is careless and doesn't pay attention and plays any other random move on the board, then that would be a blunder, because now you can attack the trapped knight with b5. White might play c3 with the idea that if you capture this pawn, you can capture back with this knight over here. But guess what? We are not going to capture it here. Neither we are going to hurry to capture this knight, because we have another strong move on the board, and that is d3. Now we are attacking 2 knights of white at the same time. Knight moves to f4, and now pawn takes knight, queen takes pawn, and you are already up in material. Let's move on to the third trap. e4 c6, d4, taking full control of the center, and black attacks the center with d5. White fortifies the center with knight to c3, and now pawn takes pawn, knight takes pawn, and white's knight is sitting in the beautiful central square. So black challenges the centralized knight with knight to f6. Knight moves to g3, and now here black shocks white with the move h5. The idea is to push the pawn here and attack the knight one more time. White doesn't take the threat very seriously and plays bishop to g5 with the hope of pinning this knight to the black's queen if at all the pawn moves over here. But black plays h4, attacking the knight. White plays bishop takes knight, and instead of grabbing this bishop over here, black decides to first capture this knight and opens up the h file for the rook. Bishop moves back, and now black plays rook takes pawn, rook takes rook, and now instead of playing pawn takes rook and bishop takes pawn and having a normal game, black plays an in-between strong move, queen to a5 check. White blocks the check with b4, giving up a pawn for free. But black isn't interested in capturing this pawn. He shocks white with an exchange sacrifice, queen takes bishop check. Why is black sacrificing his queen? Well, the idea is after pawn captures queen, black can capture the rook over here, and now the knight is under attack and there is no way you can stop the queening of this pawn. Knight moves to f3, and black's queen is back in the game with a 3 points material advantage. Now let's move on to the next trap. e4, c6, d4, d5, knight to c3, pawn takes pawn, knight takes pawn, and now black plays bishop to f5, attacking the knight. And instead of moving the knight over here, white plays queen to e2. White is hoping that black, being a complete beginner, might make the mistake of developing this knight on the d7 square. And if black does that, then congratulations, you have won the game, because it's a smothered mate. The next one is quite interesting. e4, c6, d4, d5, knight to c3 protects the pawn, pawn takes pawn, knight takes pawn, knight to f6 attacks the knight, and now queen to d3 protects the knight. Black plays e5 attacking the center, and now white plays pawn takes pawn attacking the knight, and here black plays queen to a5 check, forking both the king and the pawn. White blocks the check with his bishop, and now queen grabs the pawn. putting a double pressure on this pinned knight. And what should white play over here? Should he play f3? Well, white didn't play f3. White tries to lay a trap for black by castling on the queen side. What white is saying is, hey, if you want this free knight, go on and grab it. So if black gets greedy over here and grabs the free knight, then he's gone, because white can now finish off black's king with a deadly queen sacrifice, queen to d8 check. King captures queen is forced, and now white plays bishop to g5 check. It's a double attack on the king. Where can the king go? Doesn't matter where it goes, he's getting mated. If king goes to the c7 square, then bishop d8 is a checkmate, and if king goes to the e8 square, then rook d8 is checkmate again. Let's look at another mate trap.